Hello and welcome to Better Body Movement. This class is designed to help you start feeling well.
I have less pain, literally eliminate that pain.
I just feel better.
I can tell that my posture is changing.
Bright light in the day when we've done our workouts online.
Makes me feel so good about myself.
Oftentimes, I have clients come to me and say that they feel like they have ribs that are out. This is caused by muscles creating undue tension on the ribs and vertebrae. The first muscles to focus on when we do our work is the latissimus dorsi. This muscle originates from the bottom 6 thoracic vertebrae to the sacrum, then spans past the lower 3 to 4 ribs and inserts in the humerus. Start with a foam roller placed on the thoracic spine. You're going to begin by pressing your elbow up to the ceiling and then dropping down to the floor. I like to imagine holding a tray on my elbows that I'm pushing to the ceiling and then relaxing to the floor. Repeat this for 7 to 10 repetitions and then move on to overhead extension. While on the thoracic spine, starting with your palms towards the knees and arms straight, extend the arms overhead, pointing your thumbs towards the floor. To intensify each side, simply roll over onto one side. Try to relax in the tender points. Complete 7 to 10 repetitions with a foam roller in 3 different parts of the ribs. Now we're going to work the erector spinae and transverso spinalis. These muscles line your vertebrae on both sides. The erector spinae is deep, yet even deeper are the multifidus and semispinalis. The deepest muscles connected to the vertebrae are the rotatories and in the low back, the intertransversarii. Start with 2 lacrosse balls and place them by the neck. The lacrosse balls should be touching as you begin to roll your body up, forcing the lacrosse balls down your spine. Do this slowly. You should only press further if you can fully tolerate your body pressure on top of the lacrosse balls. It could take anywhere from 30 seconds to 1 minute before that muscle relaxes. Then you can press with the lacrosse balls down a little bit further. You may need to work gradually through this because your muscle will be so tender you can't tolerate all of your body weight's pressure into the lacrosse balls. In order to create a greater release, do not rush this. It should take cumulatively close to 15 minutes to work your way down the entire spine. Oftentimes, I have clients come to me and say that they feel like they have ribs that are out. This is caused by muscles creating undue tension on the ribs and vertebrae. The first muscles to focus on when we do our work is the latissimus dorsi. This muscle originates from the bottom 6 thoracic vertebrae to the sacrum, then spans past the lower 3 to 4 ribs and inserts in the humerus. Start with a foam roller placed on the thoracic spine. You're going to begin by pressing your elbow up to the ceiling and then dropping down to the floor. I like to imagine holding a tray on my elbows that I'm pushing to the ceiling and then relaxing to the floor. Repeat this for 7 to 10 repetitions and then move on to overhead extension. While on the thoracic spine, starting with your palms towards the knees and arms straight, extend the arms overhead, pointing your thumbs towards the floor. To intensify each side, simply roll over onto one side. Try to relax in the tender points. Complete 7 to 10 repetitions with a foam roller in 3 different parts of the ribs. Now we're going to work the erector spinae and transverso spinalis. These muscles line your vertebrae on both sides. The erector spinae is deep, yet even deeper are the multifidus and semispinalis. The deepest muscles connected to the vertebrae are the rotatories, and in the low back, the intertransversarii. Start with 2 lacrosse balls and place them by the neck. The lacrosse balls should be touching as you begin to roll your body up, forcing the lacrosse balls down your spine. Do this slowly. You should only press further if you can fully tolerate your body pressure on top of the lacrosse balls. It could take anywhere from 30 seconds to 1 minute before that muscle relaxes. Then you can press with the lacrosse balls down a little bit further. You may need to work gradually through this because your muscle will be so tender you can't tolerate all of your body weight's pressure into the lacrosse balls. In order to create a greater release, do not rush this. It should take cumulatively close to 15 minutes to work your way down the entire spine. Oftentimes, I have clients come to me and say that they feel like they have ribs that are out. This is caused by muscles creating undue tension on the ribs and vertebrae. The first muscles to focus on when we do our work is the latissimus dorsi. This muscle originates from the bottom 6 thoracic vertebrae to the sacrum, then spans past the lower 3 to 4 ribs and inserts in the humerus. Start with a foam roller placed on the thoracic spine. You're going to begin by pressing your elbow up to the ceiling and then dropping down to the floor. I like to imagine holding a tray on my elbows that I'm pushing to the ceiling and then relaxing to the floor. Repeat this for 7 to 10 repetitions and then move on to overhead extension. While on the thoracic spine, starting with your palms towards the knees and arms straight, extend the arms overhead, pointing your thumbs towards the floor. To intensify each side, simply roll over onto one side. Try to relax in the tender points. Complete 7 to 10 repetitions with the foam roller in 3 different parts of the ribs. Now we're going to work the erector spinae and transverso spinalis. These muscles line your vertebrae on both sides. The erector spinae is deep, yet even deeper are the multifidus and semispinalis. The deepest muscles connected to the vertebrae are the rotatories, and in the low back, the intertransversarii. Start with 2 lacrosse balls and place them by the neck. The lacrosse balls should be touching as you begin to roll your body up, forcing the lacrosse balls down your spine. Do this slowly. You should only press further if you can fully tolerate your body pressure on top of the lacrosse balls. It could take anywhere from 30 seconds to 1 minute before that muscle relaxes. Then you can press with the lacrosse balls down a little bit further. You may need to work gradually through this because your muscle will be so tender you can't tolerate all of your body weight's pressure into the lacrosse balls. In order to create a greater release, do not rush this. It should take cumulatively close to 15 minutes to work your way down the entire spine. Oftentimes, I have clients come to me and say,
all right, we are set and ready to go. Thank you for being here. As always, if you're joining us online, please share this workout with someone that you know. If you haven't yet, do subscribe. Very important to subscribe to the channel so that way you get the updates of new videos, things that we post in order to help you move well and live well. So we're going to start with our iDedicates, get into our verse of the day, and then we'll move on to our core routine, okay? So we're praying for Lori's mom, doing dialysis 3 times a week, Ethan in his liver and bile duct cancer, my friend's wife who was diagnosed with breast cancer, Kira, we are praying for strength over her. Kira's dad, Jim, is in the process, 5-year process of pancreatic cancer, not doing well at all right now. And then again, continuing to pray for Jane and her family as she is struggling with her brain cancer. So be in prayer for those individuals. Again, we'll have those up across the top of the screen here, just so that way you can, between rounds or, as we go, maybe dedicate one person per round or however you want to do it. Or if you have a dedication of your own, add that to your workout, okay? So an iDedicate, as far as we see it, is an inspired action dedicated to an intention greater than self, right? So right now, this time that we have, we're going to dedicate it to these individuals as we do the best we possibly can through the movements that we perform, okay? Our verse of the day: your wife will be like a fruitful vine within your house. Your children will be like olive shoots around your table. That can be a really tough one for some people. I fully understand and am aware, that not everyone has the beauty and the blessing of bearing children. And there are a lot of things that lead to that. Different choices have to be made along the way. And so I understand that can be a very difficult thing actually to go through and process. So we sit in solidarity with those who maybe have had that, but yet I understand too, with our kids especially, it is super fun to have them and know, we're just preparing them to be a new extension of ways that people can know the name of Jesus. So super cool. All right, let's jump over into our workout here.
Pelvic tilt.
So pelvic tilts, remember, compress as hard as you possibly can through that midsection. So Lois, I'm hopeful on these for you. We'll be able to see even tighter compression without that pain back.
1.
I think it'll make a big difference. And that actually is a really great place to be, because if we can build even more spinal stability, I think we'll get even more before that pain begins to come back. Because you're not like going just to the border of pain, you're now going to strength and engage and drive, right? Good tight core squeeze.
That's
that already, I know it's different for you. That's awesome. Okay, good tight squeeze. Remember, we want to perform a Kegel, right? So pelvic floor gets really tight. I say like you're cutting off going to the bathroom, and then you compress that low back into the floor. Think like a Doritos under your low back. You want to smash that Dorito, crush it down without rolling your chest forward, okay? Stay tall.
3, 2, 1. Prepare for pelvic tilt with knee fall out.
Okay, so now that first round is the function that we're going to perform every single time. Okay, so Kegel,
3,
core compression,
2,
then
1.
we create movement.
Pelvic tilt with knee fall out.
Okay, so your knees moving out to the side, so feet should be together. Compress that core really tight. I don't want the pelvis to be shifting on the floor. That's the big concern here, right? So challenge, let the knee fall out to whatever range of motion it has, but do not let your hips shift on the floor, okay? So if you go to drop your knee out and your hips do this, right, and they roll on the floor, you know your core is not tight, right? So compress, hold that midsection tight, knee goes
That's
out.
halfway.
Nothing in the midsection should change, okay? So keep that nice and tight. Again, doing your absolute best to maintain that spinal compression Hold tight. Crush that Dorito. Crush it. Okay, good firm squeezes. Again, ladies, your absolute best.
3, 2, 1. Prepare for pelvic tilt with adduction.
Okay, tilt with adduction, so a foam roller or a pillow between the knees. And then we'll walk through how to
3,
make the movement.
2, 1. Pelvic tilt with adduction.
Okay, so Kegel, core compressed. Squeeze your knees together. Hold that core compression tight. Release the knees. Then release the core. Okay, and then do it again. So a big part of this is, especially on the release, right? It feels really, really difficult, but try to hold the Kegel and the core, right? So we don't want that pelvic floor to just let go when your hips let go. Okay, we want to be able to hold and maintain that compression through the midsection while we create the movement. Okay, very good. Again, we're always doing our absolute best to re-squeeze tight. Very distinct in the movements, right? Very separated.
Three,
There.
2, 1. Prepare for pelvic tilt with knee toward chest.
Very good. Tilt with knee toward chest. So again, we're gonna hold
3,
that pelvis
2,
in place.
1. Pelvic tilt with knee toward chest.
I don't want that to move at all. Doing your absolute best all the way through the squeeze. Squeeze tight, tight, tight. Again, as you march, the big one I watch for is what I say is
That's
the Rubik's
halfway.
Cube. Okay, if you pull your knee up and it kind of lifts or rotates one of the hips, right, that pelvic structure, recompress, get that core to really push down against the floor. Tight squeeze, crush that Dorito. Okay, then we create the march. Okay, so right now everything should be trying to focus on connecting the brain to the muscle
3,
tissue in the core.
2, 1. Prepare for pelvic tilt with bridge.
Good. Tilt with bridge. So this one, feet just a little wider than shoulder width apart. Drive into the floor by pinching
3,
your butt cheeks.
2, 1. Pelvic tilt with bridge.
Okay, tilt and bridge. So you're going to create that core compression, lift. What we're watching for is actually when you set down onto the floor, right? So as many reps as you can get to setting down on the floor, the better, okay? Because we want to make sure that that core stays compressed as you return. So if your hips and low ribs return to the floor, but your low back doesn't, you know you arched your back as you lifted, right? We want to make sure that
That's
back
halfway.
stays flat as you go up and down, okay? Hey, that's just fine, Carol. We are in our first round, though, so if that matters to you at all, we're just getting to the bridge, so we've got 2 more this round. But also, that's why we enjoy the video recordings. So thanks for letting me know. I always like it when you check in. That's awesome. Okay, good squeeze.
3,
Almost there.
2, 1. Prepare for shoulder drops.
Okay, shoulder drops. So again, we're taking shoulders out of the ears and then all the way back to the floor.
3,
So the floor is what
2,
you should be shooting for
1. Shoulder
on
drop.
the back side of that arm. Okay, so we don't want to be here with those shoulders rolled forward. We want to actually start with those shoulders all the way back on the ground. So I say if you have to walk your shoulders down, 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 that's fine. Get your shoulders down, then compress your core. Because a lot of times we're going to arch our back to try to get the shoulders in that position. We need just the shoulder blades. So this is where we think of that suspender strap, right?
That's halfway.
If we've got suspenders on, they go up and over the shoulders and then they cross on the back side, right? So those lines, the cross on the back side is take the shoulder blade to the opposite hip. Okay, down and back, just as hard as you possibly can. Again, go back to the core, recompress, tight core, squeeze, 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 all the way through.
3, 2, 1. Prepare for dead bug.
Good. Dead bugs or bird dogs. This round we'll just focus on the dead bugs. When we set up, remember you're thinking the same thing through the shoulder blades, right?
3,
Pinch down and back.
2, 1. Dead bug.
Then we're going to do our Kegel, core compression. Make sure the back is flat to the floor. Then imagine a box just right on your stomach. That's what your arms and your knees are being held against, okay? So you're going to try to maintain that nice square shape from the shoulders and the hips, okay? So keep that pointed vertical and the chin's flat with the ceiling, okay? No matter what, we're going to focus on that core compression. As tight
That's
as you
halfway.
possibly can squeeze. Firm, firm, firm. Again, we're always returning to that starting point, shoulder blades down and back as much as you possibly can. Compressing the spine, right? Holding that tight. We do not want to be loosening that up and arching the back. If the back pops up off the floor, typically you're extending your leg too far to the
3,
floor. Almost done.
2, 1. Long rest.
Very good. Long rest. Go ahead and grab a drink. We have 2 more rounds just like that, but we will try to advance and make it more difficult as we go. As we begin the advance process, wherever your core seems to let go more, that's where you want to stop. Okay, so as we progress, just know if you're losing your core often, you need to go to one of these earlier styles of how we do it. Okay, but this time we're going to focus on core tight and then lift 50% of the weight off of your feet. Okay, so 50% of the weight. You're not going to lift the feet completely off the floor. You're just going to activate the hip flexors a
3,
tiny bit.
2, 1. Prepare for pelvic tilt.
All right, here we go. Remember, good pelvic tilts. Compress that core, shoulder blades down and back, and then 50% of the weight off your
3,
feet.
2, 1. Pelvic tilt.
Good core compression. Tight, tight squeeze. Firm, firm, firm. Compressing, compressing. Okay, and again, after you do your Kegel and core compression, right, to firmly brace that spine, you're lifting just a tiny bit. You're thinking pull the knees towards your chest enough to flex
That's
the hips.
halfway.
And then you're watching that low back. If it pops up, right, pops up off the ground, you know you need to squeeze harder through the midsection. Plant that low back on the floor. Okay, so here I show it. Actually, if you see, if you pull the hips and the low back pops right up, that's a bad deal. Re-squeeze the core. Tight, tight squeeze. Compress firm all the way through.
3, 2, 1. Prepare for pelvic tilt with knee fall out.
Okay, so same thing we just did on this one. We just add the fall out. Again, the focus is not the movement of the knee. The focus is how tight can I
3,
keep my core.
2, 1. Pelvic tilt with knee fall out.
Okay, so as we do that tilt with the knee fall out, again, set the foundation. Kegel, core compression, drive that low back into the floor. Gently pull the knees towards the chest, right? Just make sure there's a little tension as you go out to the side and back up. It might reduce range of motion. That's okay, right? The big thing is that we maintain compression even as we pull the knee towards the chest and create
That's
that
halfway.
out and up motion, okay? Everything today is firm foundation, firm foundation. It's a primary, it is the foundation of all your movement. Okay, get the core tight, core tight. Awesome. Okay, doing your best, 10 seconds. And again, you should be re-squeezing. You should be forcing your brain to reconnect.
3, 2, 1.
Good.
Prepare for pelvic tilt with adduction.
Foam roller or pillow, whatever you have at home, between the knees. This time it's a 6-step process, so we'll go through it together as soon as we start here.
3, 2, 1. Pelvic tilt with adduction.
Here we go. So Kegel, pelvic tilt, compress that back down, squeeze your knees together, gently pull the knees towards the chest, just activate the hip flexors, set your feet back down, release the knees, keeping the core, then relax the core. Redo it. Okay, so you should be telling yourself core tight, knees tight, gently lift, set down, release the knees, release the core. So the whole time it's a core sandwich. First thing on, last thing off. If you lose it
That's
anywhere
halfway.
in between, re-squeeze the core. Do it again. Right? We're always bringing that mental awareness, trying to build neural synapses, build the highway chain to force that to create contraction when we go through movement. Because if we can create core contraction through movements here, we can add that into our daily life, like when we get in and out of the car, stepping upstairs. All of those movements, we need to be focused on how do we load our spine and create good
3,
compression.
2, 1. Prepare for pelvic tilt with knee toward chest.
Okay, pelvic tilt, knee toward chest, just a march, right? 1 foot at a time, but again, 50% of the weight off the feet. So the opposite foot should not be
3,
pushing
2,
into the ground.
1.
Lifting
Pelvic
gently
tilt
up.
with knee toward chest.
Okay, very good. Shoulder blades still down and back. That's an easy compensation if we're really focused on the core, is we think core tight, and then the shoulders roll. We don't want that because we're training postural position. To be in a good postural position, right, that string pulls us up, so the shoulders go down and back and core stays tight.
That's halfway.
Halfway. Good. Tight squeeze, firm compression. Shoulder blades down and back. Squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. Again, doing your absolute best. 10 seconds. Very good work. Keep
3,
it up.
2, 1. Prepare for pelvic tilt with bridge.
Great. Okay, tilt and bridge. So this one, obviously, we don't worry about pulling the feet towards the chest. We are, though, thinking a penny between the butt cheeks. You want to pinch it flat.
3,
Okay?
2, 1. Pelvic tilt with bridge.
Okay, this is the railroad penny. Okay. Squish that penny as hard as you possibly can. As you return to the ground, that's where we really need to bring awareness, right? Thinking about how I return to the floor. Did I return and my ribs and hips touch and the low back is up? If so, reset the core, lift, and then return with that low back touching the floor. Okay?
That's
Again,
halfway.
it's not, obviously we want it done right, but we also want to just have awareness when we do it wrong. Okay? It's not just creating movement, right, for movement's sake. It's creating the right kind of movement. And if we don't create the right kind of movement, we need to be aware of it, right? Then we can begin the process of how do I fix that broken part in the system, right? Then once we fix that, it makes everything else so
3,
much easier.
2, 1. Prepare for shoulder drops.
Very good. Okay, shoulder drops. So take those shoulders out of the ears, down to the butt as far as you possibly can, right? Suspenders or bra strap.
3,
Pinch.
2,
Get those
1.
shoulder blades down and
Shoulder
back.
drop.
Because whether we are sitting, standing, reclined in a chair, we want to try to avoid that forward rolled posture. It's just always being trained because we're bipedal creatures and we stand up and everything's in front of us, right? So whether it's a book, a phone, an iPad, chairs now, especially cars, I mean, they force you almost into a bad posture just because typically
halfway.
majority of consumers are in a bad posture. So if we have chairs that put us in a good posture, we would hate it, right? So we are training against a normal cultural problem, right? We want to train against that. Get tall, shoulders back, recompress that core, tight, tight, tight.
3, 2, 1. Prepare for dead bug.
Awesome. Dead bug or bird dog. I will show you the bird dog here so that way you have options. So the big one with bird dog is do not cat
3,
or cow.
2,
Okay, so the cat
1.
is arching the back
Dead
up.
bug.
Cow is just letting the belly hang to the floor. Make sure you recompress the spine. I like to think, and maybe just because I'm a nut job, taking a shoe to the stomach right now in this position, right? If you get kicked in the stomach or hit, right, you need that core braced nice and tight. Okay? And I try not to compensate in any way when I extend the leg, right? So rather than think I need to really extend the leg back behind me and arch my back,
That's
right?
halfway.
Hold the core tight and reduce range of motion. I'm okay with that so long as we challenge the core so it stays tight through all of that extension. Because this is walking, right? Like you extend one leg behind you every time you walk. So we don't want the spine to go through this twisting motion as we do our walk. We want to actually hold and brace our spine as we create that movement.
3,
Good.
2, 1. Long rest.
Awesome. Long rest, that means we have one round left. So remember, we will do our absolute best to maintain that core compression. And the more advanced version this round is to actually lift and hover your feet. Okay? So hover those feet as you hold the core tight. Very good. Good rest. Think about your movement
3,
before we start.
2, 1. Prepare for pelvic tilt.
Visualization is a really good technique to use when we are doing, preparing for an exercise or when we're preparing to move something. Right? Think about
3,
how would I do
2,
this? How do I want
1.
to brace
Pelvic
my
tilt.
core? Okay, so Kegel, core compression. Pull the feet up, hold 1, 2, set them back down, then release the core. Again, it's usually the set down where we see the spine start to change. Okay, so that's where I want you to really focus. Compress the core as the feet are returning to the floor. Okay, then let your core go, re-squeeze, lift the feet to a hover, keep holding the core tight, set the feet down.
That's halfway.
Okay? Through the whole time. Continuing to return the brain to the core. Focus. Very good. 12 seconds, do your absolute best. Good, good, good.
3, 2, 1. Prepare for pelvic tilt
Awesome.
with knee fall out.
Okay, tilt with knee fall out. So again, we're going to compress the core, Kegel, core compress, lift the feet, knee out, back up. If you need to set the feet down, you
3,
can.
2, 1. Pelvic tilt with knee fall out.
Okay, so the big thing is just remembering every single part of the movement. Recompress that core. Recompress. You do not want to go through this just passively, not even thinking about the core. Okay? Because again, it's not about the movement, it's about the core. Right? So reduce range of motion. Reduce the speed, right? It doesn't matter. The biggest thing is maintaining that
halfway.
spinal compression. Okay, all the way through. Okay, doing your absolute best. Compress, compress, compress. Very good. 10 seconds. Awesome work. Try not to short yourself.
3, 2, 1. Prepare for pelvic tilt
Good.
with adduction.
All right. Tilt with adduction. Squeezing the knees together. We add something between the knees.
3, 2, 1. Pelvic tilt with adduction.
Here we go. Kegel core compression. Squeeze those knees. Hover the feet for 1, 2. Set the feet down. Release the knees. Release the core. Okay, and again, it should take that long. you're really thinking through and distinct between each part of the movement, it's not going to take you 2 seconds to do it. Okay? We want it distinct, very, very firm. Again, doing your best all the way through. Re-squeeze, recompress. Firm, firm, firm. Good. 10 seconds. Firm squeeze, firm squeeze.
3, 2, 1. Prepare for pelvic tilt with knee toward chest.
Awesome. Pelvic tilt, knee toward chest. So this is a marching, right? So we want to hover both feet, one up,
3,
back down.
2, 1. Pelvic tilt with knee toward chest.
Remember, it's not a scissors kick. I don't want both legs moving simultaneously, right? So it's Kegel, core compression, lift the feet, one knee up, back down to a hover, do the other side. Up, back down to a hover. While we do that, remember to keep the core tight. Again, that is the advanced version. If you can't maintain that spinal compression, revert back to just leaving your feet on the ground, lifting 50% of the weight off your feet.
That's halfway.
No matter what, the best thing for you is to be right on the border of where that core is able to stay tight. Okay? That's what's best. Okay? It's not best to be doing round 3 if round 1 is hard enough, right? So do that continually through each one of the rounds. 10 seconds. Remember, finish all the way through. Maybe it helps to count down with it here.
2, 1. Prepare for
Good.
pelvic tilt with bridge.
Tilt and bridge. Remember, railroad the penny between the butt cheeks. Nice and tight. Feet about shoulder width apart. Maybe even a little wider. We're looking at knees
3,
out.
2, 1. Pelvic tilt with bridge.
Kegel, core compressed. Squeeze the butt cheeks together to lift. Set back down. Check your low back. Make sure that was flat on the floor. If it was, awesome. Do it again. If it wasn't, reset the core. Do it all over. Then re-squeeze, recompress. Shoulder blades down and back. Firm, firm, firm. All the way through. See you down.
That's halfway.
Awesome. Good, good, good. Again, at this point, we should be really working on reconnecting the brain to the core. Typically, we are tired. The core doesn't want to work more. That's okay. We just try to push through it even more.
3,
Good.
2, 1. Prepare for shoulder drops.
Fantastic work. Only 2 more, and then we are done with core day. So give it your all. Try to really connect the brain to the core.
3, 2, 1. Shoulder drop.
Remember, with these, do not compensate thinking your arm needs to go to the ground and we end up arching the back. Okay? I just want as much range of motion as you have. As the arm returns, pull that shoulder down and back, right? We just don't want to leave it elevated as the arm returns. Pull the shoulder out of the ear. So we're squeezing through those lats, right? Drive those shoulders down and then pinch that bra strap back. Okay, one I like is make orange juice, right? So the orange right here behind the armpit, you want to squeeze that orange juice, right? Squeeze that orange. Nice and tight. It's our morning orange juice. Good squeeze. Almost there, 7 seconds. Count down with it if you need to, just to keep moving.
2, 1. Prepare for dead bug.
Good. Okay, again, dead bugs or bird dogs. Either way, core compressed, right? Think that belly whack, getting kicked in the stomach, whatever it is for you,
3,
to make sure it's
2,
tight.
1. Dead bug.
Here we go. Good. Compress. Hold. Tight, tight, tight. Firm squeeze. Doing your absolute best all the way through. Tight. Awesome work. Awesome, awesome. Very good.
That's halfway.
Good. Squeeze, compress. I roll over to the bird dogs here again. Do not overextend and arch the back. Maintain that spinal compression as tight as you possibly can. Right? We're not trying to go for range of motion. We're trying to go for core stability. Almost done, ladies. All the way through. Remember, count down with it if you need to.
3,
3,
2,
2,
1.
1.
Long rest.
Done. Absolutely fantastic work today. We so appreciate you being here. Remember, if this has helped you, I know it can help others. So please, there's a little arrow button kind of down in the corner here. That's your share button. Maybe find 3 people, right, that you can think of who could really benefit from this training. Click that button, send this link to them, and help them to move well so they also can live well. Okay? Have an absolutely fantastic day. Tomorrow we'll come out live with another total body day to help you prepare for your weekend. All right? Have an absolutely fantastic day. We will see you tomorrow.
Oftentimes, I have clients come to me and say that they feel like they have ribs that are out. This is caused by muscles creating undue tension on the ribs and vertebrae. The first muscles to focus on when we do our work is the latissimus dorsi. This muscle originates from the bottom 6 thoracic vertebrae to the sacrum, then spans past the lower 3 to 4 ribs and inserts in the humerus. Start with a foam roller placed on the thoracic spine. You're going to begin by pressing your elbow up to the ceiling and then dropping down to the floor. I like to imagine holding a tray on my elbows that I'm pushing to the ceiling and then relaxing to the floor. Repeat this for 7 to 10 repetitions and then move on to overhead extension. While on the thoracic spine, starting with your palms towards the knees and arms straight, extend the arms overhead, pointing your thumbs towards the floor. To intensify each side, simply roll over onto one side. Try to relax in the tender points. Complete 7 to 10 repetitions with a foam roller in 3 different parts of the ribs. Now we're going to work the erector spinae and transverso spinalis. These muscles line your vertebrae on both sides. The erector spinae is deep, yet even deeper are the multifidus and semispinalis. The deepest muscles connected to the vertebrae are the rotatories and in the low back, the intertransversarii. Start with 2 lacrosse balls and place them by the neck. The lacrosse balls should be touching as you begin to roll your body up, forcing the lacrosse balls down your spine. Do this slowly. You should only press further if you can fully tolerate your body pressure on top of the lacrosse balls. It could take anywhere from 30 seconds to 1 minute before that muscle relaxes. Then you can press with the lacrosse balls down a little bit further. You may need to work gradually through this because your muscle will be so tender you can't tolerate all of your body weight's pressure into the lacrosse balls. In order to create a greater release, do not rush this. It should take cumulatively close to 15 minutes to work your way down the entire spine.